Hello everybody. Let's exit to port. It is, at the time of recording, 11:45 at Central European Time on the 20th of January 2026. This denotes the 6th season for Exit to Port. And I don't think that's where we're going to stop that sentence. I don't think we're neither of us had any idea where we'd be sitting here 6 years later after the first recording. And by we, I of course include my ever astute and wonderful co-host, Mr. Grumbles the Dwarf. Good morning, Grumbles.
Hello. Tis I, as astute and confused as ever.
Astute and confused. Name of your autobiography. Honestly, same. I'm going to start out the podcast with a tiny personal victory. Because I've for a long time I've been working hard on my own health and to get better, and just in general losing weight and so on. Because part of this, I've had a bit high blood pressure for a while, so I'm on blood pressure medication. Not much. I think it's even the smallest doses you can have of this medication. But through just working on my diet and simply just being a bit more aware of maneuvering, if we call that moving in the real world, I'm happy to report that it's a downward trend on blood pressure, and even this morning, where I've had very little sleep, only a few hours actually. We'll talk more about that later. I'm still on what is considered high normal blood pressure, so it's within normal values, but it's on the high end of that. It's no longer hypertension, which is good. And it's a downward trend. So I'm super happy. I'm super happy about that. So that's my own personal victory to start out the day with, and as such, we're gonna ruin that, but talking about the world. Not really. You know what? So the world is a bit scary these days. We'll acknowledge that. But I think you can agree with me that my current mission in any sort of content I create is to help people have a realistic attitude towards the world, where you're kind of like, yep, we acknowledge it. We realize that things are effed up, but that doesn't mean that we can't take a little bit of a breather every now and then, and that's what we're going to create. We're going to create that breather with a healthy focus. That is my mission, and I have a feeling that most people will agree to that, because we can't hide from the world. That's kind of good and bad, I guess. But we're gonna create a little hidey hole here today. It's gonna be full of many things. But first, before we jump fully into that, I want to say thank you to our patrons. Even though it says recently played games on screen. Sorry, I messed something up. It's always something, Grumbles. There's always something.
Well,
dang it. Oh well,
that's the art form.
You know what? I'll fix it in live. Oh, hold on, I can fix this. You know, I can fix this. Let's paste that there and say that. Oh, would you look at that? Suddenly it says, welcome to the podcast. Thank you to patrons. That was strange. Strange how that happens. And speaking of which, thank you to our newest patron, Lady Alien. Thank you for pledging on patreon.com/exit to port. That's patreon.com/exit to port. No numbers or anything, just straightforward. Write it all out. And $2 a month. And here's a tiny caveat. Managed to let life get past me without sending out the 1 week heads up. So there might be a Patreon exclusive. All depending if there's a lot of members that suddenly have questions or such for us. But we might make a 20 to 40 minute Patreon exclusive at some point. We'll see. But thank you so much to all our patrons for helping us be able to do this in a good way and keeping up the appearances and the host's cost. I think. Yes. That makes sense, doesn't it?
I believe so, yes.
Excellent.
And thank you to our patrons. It's very much appreciated.
It is. And we do realize that maybe especially in this economy that like even something as little as $2 can mean a lot to some. So yeah, we really do truly appreciate it. Thank you. Now, speaking of the effed up world, how's Project Zomboid version 42?
Yeah, I played this recently. I only got a chance to really dabble in it for one stream, but been wanting to have a look at it for quite some time. It's been something that's been cooking a long time, but for me on my radar about a year. And it got to the point where they were adding multiplayer and stuff like that. So I thought, well, we'll have a look. Even if I'm just solo, at least it's got to a stable enough position. They have some funky, like whatever their naming conventions are. I can't remember if this one's called stable or unstable. It's just version 42. I think it's a stable version with the multiplayer is a bit ropey. And yeah, it's really impressive. The managing to add degrees of immersion into a game that's got this, what do you call it, isometric kind of top-downy angled view is a tricky thing, and I feel like they're doing a good job with it. They've added a lot more stuff in with like animal husbandry and the way kind of crafting and materials and just the general survival feels like it works. It's great, and I'm hoping that it continues to progress, that they get the multiplayer with modding stable, because there's a huge and vibrant modding community with Project Zomboid, and there's lots of things that are just super, super cool. Although many things obviously have been taken in to this huge update. And yeah, I feel like there are a lot of Project Zomboid shenanigans on the horizon for this year. So my first impression feels very smooth, very much like big sort of steps in the right direction in terms of it feeling a bit more immersive, and like we can tell some good stories in there, and just have a good old time. So looking forward to getting bitten by zombies, I guess.
So, but this is an update that's been in the works for a long time, because I think I remember 42 being kind of a thing of myth and legend among players for last year-ish, if not more. Yeah, it's like, oh, it's gonna be so good when this comes into stable, and oh, I'm looking forward to this being in stable. And I'm like, why? What is the big thing that they're bringing here? What is is it quality of life, or is it something else?
It's really it touches pretty much every aspect of the game, so it's kind of hard to summarize. But
fair enough.
It's things like adaptations to like ragdoll physics, so things feel more realistic, if you will, more immersive. It's things like how weaponry, aiming, things like that work. It's adding in the whole animal husbandry, so secure your farm, get yourselves some chickens and whatever, and just try and survive. And then I guess it's turning a corner from like pure survival to like maybe you can start building up beyond that a little bit and sort of begin to thrive and enjoy, but with that ever-present threat of zombies and everything, and it just depends on how you set things up. But if you play the game, I guess the way it's still intended, you're eventually gonna die. So that underlying existential challenge is still there. They've just there's lots of quality of life stuff coming in and everything. How the vehicles are working, repairing things, crafting, storage, and all that kind of stuff. It's becoming more and more well-rounded. So I think it'll become. I mean, I don't know how the right way to describe it. I think it's an incredibly popular game, but it maybe even can find an even broader audience now with the level of things that they're bringing in. They've updated the foraging and all that kind of stuff as well. So, which is one of the things I noticed straight away, just like looking for resources, going out into the woods. Oh my God, I need to make myself a weapon. Let's get, a branch and make ourselves a bat or something, and things like that. Just some of those basics, as well as how your emotions of your character work and how the tiredness system, having enough food and water, anxiety and all that kind of stuff has just been like, it's all being constantly tweaked and rebalanced and everything. And it feels like you've got more flexibility to go about how you want to survive in the world, whilst at the same time, fundamentally, you're still, death is around every corner.
So is this the one that introduced the muscle fatigue over time? So if you keep on hitting a zombie with a baseball bat, like your muscles will become fatigued, so you need rest. Like, is this the version that introduced that?
I'm not sure, but I would certainly say that there's been like tweaks and improvements to it all. So I think it's designed to go a little bit more in depth on certain aspects like that, but in a way that's intended to give you more flexibility to work with it and better understanding of what's going on, and then ways of dealing with it, rather than just saying here's 200 more statuses or whatever and just confusing and overwhelming players. So I feel like the game is becoming maybe a little bit more intuitive.
Yeah, because I remember thinking, yeah, sure, your character will get tired when slapping away at the zombies, but now they have specifically like it's your muscles, so that you do less damage. So you're not necessarily that your character is tired, but you're just like your punches are a bit weak, so to speak, which is a cool system. But again, in a game that is purely built around the idea that your character will die, I'm like, there's enough to worry about already. But I'll be honest, like it's a really cool game. But if I can find a setting that allows me to play it almost MMO like, with, for instance, the journal or similar, I would absolutely love it. Because then I could set up a server and be like, okay, once a zombie's dead, it's dead, it's gone. Like it won't respawn. There won't be more just suddenly appearing. And then I could probably head on out into the world. But it's specifically meant to kill your character, and then I'm like, yeah. Well,
I think that's what I liked about the story concept that we workshopped. Purpley had the original sort of seed of the idea, and we workshopped around it, where we, for our little role play thing, we came up with a reason why you would die, and then you could respawn in as your same character, like what was going on there, and how that could make sense in the world. And I think that we didn't really get to divulge and go into that in full depth, but I think it's an interesting premise, and for me makes it more fun, because then you can use it as more of a storytelling vehicle than purely just the game killing you and then start again kind of thing. But yeah, that obviously is just us using our imaginations and kind of role playing, putting some role playing duct tape around framework.
It's just if I learn something, I want to be able to reuse it, but I also understand that it kind of goes against the idea of Zomboid. So, but it's good to know that they're working on things, and despite being how many years old now?
My goodness, I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, no, it's quite a few years old now. But despite that, they're still working on it and still bringing both quality of life and just new features that are making people be excited about it. And it's kind of cool to see a lot of creators out there do some really fun challenges with it. So yeah.
Released on Steam 12 years ago, 13 maybe. Well, November 8th, 2013, yeah. It also got graphical pass in this update as well. It looks a lot cleaner.
Yeah. That's a sizable age for a game like that, I'll say. But it's also kind of the type of game that will have that kind of stability. So that's really cool. That is honestly impressive. Well done, Project Zomboid. What's something you would like to see in Zomboid going forward?
I mean, I think that there are elements to it with certain bits. I think they did overhaul the map system, which was great, and I think they even added a new town in as well. I think they're working on bringing a little bit more lore. Like there's tons of lore around it, but it's kind of like you can look it up if you want, or you can just play the game. But it would be interesting. I wouldn't ever want them to see this turned into like a full story game kind of thing, unless they did like a adventure story mode or something. But I think it would be fun, and maybe this just might be my lack of experience in the game so far, but I'd love to see a bit more of the lore brought in, not overwhelmingly so, but just like each town have its own little story of like 10 or 12 pages dotted around the place, somebody keeping a diary, a newspaper article, whatever, some little things like that where you could piece these tidbits together and make a storyboard of like, this is what happened in this town. This is how the outbreak went down in this town. This is what was going on just before the outbreak here, and kind of, and whatever. And you could do a whole, how did the situation unfold in each little location? And then it would give you more of a broader regional kind of, in the neighboring state, this kind of stuff happened. You're like, wow, we're lucky we weren't there, kind of thing. I think that would be fun to see a bit more. And again, let me know in the comments and whatnot. Maybe some of that's already in there and I just haven't run across it yet, but I think that would be interesting. Yeah,
no, that's certainly something that could, like a story mode would be cool to be able to have, but it would have to be balanced towards it, because again, it's almost roguelike in its way of playing. And it's kind of like, I think it's hard to play a roguelike if you're not seeing progression in your character. Like you're constantly being reset. Then that's a hardcore roguelike almost. Anyway, it could be worse, I guess. Could be something with a permadeath setting and whatnot. But sorry, I'm fidgeting, and I know the sounds are coming through, but I need to stretch. Becoming an old man. Oh God, not really. Anyway, good stretch. Zomboid version 42, stable. And they have the MP thing, and yeah. So if you play Zomboid, let us know. let us know what you were looking forward to and what you would like to see and what your thoughts on the current state of the game is. Try to, like, I've played a tiny bit of Zomboid, but you know, sell me on the idea of why I should get back into Zomboid or something. I don't know. Are we engagement farming? Is that what we're trying to do?
Sounds like it.
Speaking of farming, we were playing Ships at Sea and doing some fish farming. And what were your thoughts on Ships at Sea? Finally, being able to hop in and play some multiplayer and see it for the craziness that it is.
Yeah, I had a blast with it. I thought that it's got the usual kind of like limitations, some graphical elements, and you know, it's another one of those games where they've got the core in place, and you can have a ton of fun with that if you go into it with the right sort of mindset, where you're not looking for perfection, or you're not looking for like, you know, really top line graphics and animations and stuff like that. If you're there just to kind of almost relax and just get into that kind of playing a simulation, and then for me personally, again, if you can do that in a group of friends and just have a laugh with it, all the better. I had a really, really fun time with it. I thought it was highly amusing and entertaining because you've got the mixture of stuff to do and also things that maybe don't quite work or need a little bit of polish in that, but that together you can kind of have a laugh at. So it worked on that level. It definitely needs quite a lot more kind of content, and a lot more polish. But you know, it looks like they're fully committed to it and adding a lot over time. I'm not sure the size of their team and everything. I know they've worked on a number of similar products with some overlap. I suppose I give it thumbs up for what's there now, and that you can have a lot of fun either as a chilled out sim, just go and sort of press some buttons and let your mind drift kind of thing, or in a friends group having a good chuckle together. The only thing in the back of my mind is I worry that quite a few games of this ilk, they do have that, you know, progression a little bit, but inevitably at some point things slow down a bit. Or I worry particularly that they might start another product, or like I feel, I'm not sure exactly about this company, so I don't want to be unfair to them. And you probably can add a lot more on that than I can. But I have this just underlying gut feeling that I struggle to shake sometimes with these kinds of games, where they get to a certain limit or time and they're like, okay, we need to do something fresh now, because I don't know if it's how the market works and how Steam works and all that kind of thing, but things have like a time to live or whatever. And then either they massively take off, in which case that gives them a whole new influx of money and development time and effort and energy and whatever, or they start to just kind of slowly drift out, superseded by whatever else is new coming along, even in the same category, that in many cases might not even be as good, but it's just, here's the new one, here's Bus Simulator 2, here's, you know.
So miscellaneous games that have that are working on Ships at Sea have previously made fishing Barents Sea and fishing North Atlantic, and like they were solo or single player games. So this is their multiplayer version of it, simply. And because they pretty much have to remake the game from ground up in order to allow for multiplayer, like this is the stuff they do, and like they're long-term committed. Like there was DLCs for the other two. There were additions to the branded stuff, like the cranes and the different ships and everything. And so they're committed. Like this is not just a studio that does that hop on hop off kind of thing, or or
Oh, that's good.
or throws out some stuff. There are others out there that do similar kind of things. Of course, all of these kind of grocery store and kind of these store simulators, you know.
Yeah.
But when you look at ships at sea and how big it is for, like, it's a tiny place in the world by all means, but it's not just a tiny corner on a street. Like that, there is a whole lot more, and looking at their way forward, looking at how they communicate on Instagram in regards to what they're working on, be that new cranes, be that new boats, and changes to the weather system, changes to the to where the fish, like the fish habitat system, like they are committed. And I really like it. There's of course a few things where I'm like, dear God, how is it this broken? But again, early access, still very early access. I want to point that out. It's so important to me. I'm not raking the devs over any coals because of this. Like, I understand the nature of early access, and especially in such a heavy simulator as this is, because there is a lot going on. But the fishing boat we had, the multi-crew one, which was fabulous to use, so much fun to have everyone have their own roles and go and do their own thing and be together on the same boat. The fact that taking the boat into the dock and out again didn't fix the fish stuck on the conveyor belt.
Yeah.
Even selling the boat and reacquiring it as a new boat didn't fix it. Yeah. That's something that is then hilariously broken. I'm quite curious how that happened, and hopefully the devs can be like, there's something to learn here. Yeah, exactly, and exactly. Those are so it's all the right points and the right signals. They do have a roadmap that looks promising as well. I suppose it's just one of those. It'll be the 2nd year anniversary in May. Right. So on the one hand, it's not a lot of time. We just talked about Zomboid having 12 years or whatever or more. But I guess my question, the only concern I have is that I think it's super fun as a premise, and I think that I've already said to people on streams and that, look, you can already get this and have fun. Just know what you're getting. It's in your face, so it's not hiding anything. It's not trying to be all glamorous and shiny and whatever. It's just this is what you've got. This is where we're at. And I like the sound of the commitment level and the roadmap that they've got. I guess my question is just, and maybe it doesn't matter that much, but like, what's the point where like a DLC or a big update? Where's the big update that drops that says, okay, this is our 2-year anniversary. Here's version whatever it is, maybe not 1.0 or whatever, but 0.9 or that's going to bring a lot of that quality of life, bring those little bits of extra like animations and that kind of immersive stuff that's going to then appeal to the player base and have both people returning and bringing in a wave of new people as well. I'm not saying they can't do it, and I'm not trying to be down or pessimistic on it. I'm just, I'm curious where it's going to go. Partly because I had a lot of fun playing it. Yeah, so the way I kind of see, and since I've been following them quite tightly, and it has to do with the fact that the game itself is set in just a few hours travel away from where I live. Which is really cool because I can literally look around and be like, yeah, this looks and feels correct. And like if you load in on Google Maps and you drop down on Street View, you can see stuff around there. I'm pretty sure you can even see the Conquest fishing boat that we have. I think that's actually on Google Maps. Anyway, Like having followed them for so long now, they like it feels it feels like they're still working on important simulator parts of it. But seeing how they've worked on other things before, like once they've kind of nailed down the mechanics part of it, like fish habitats and weather systems and so on, you know, things that are quite important for a game like this, that's when we're starting to see DLCs being worked on. But you know, like adding more parts to the map, adding new boats, adding simply large additions to the game. Sorry, I smacked my microphone there. And they've done this before, and like the returnability has been there several times. Like as they've been working through things, like there have been moments where I've been, okay, this is a fairly substantial update. Let me go check out the game again. And one of them was 0.85, which was the one we played, where it was new weather system and new boats and new harbor look and everything. There's still a few things on my wish list though for this. One of them being proximity chat or radio, like in-game voice that we could use.
Yeah,
because being on a ship and being able to yell to each other instead of just being on a Discord call, that could be really cool.
Yeah.
You also need a fast travel system that isn't just between the current port you're in and just a few of the spots around you. That, like the sea taxi system, it needs the ability to travel between your ports, because if you suddenly have multiple ports, let's say you have one for your fishing fleet and one for your I don't know, for your repair boats and whatnot, then you need to be able to fast travel between those places instead of hopping in your own boat and traveling out there. Because it might not be able to always do that. But certainly it seems like they're headed the right way. So I'm super excited to see what they're posting, and it's not a very big team, so I think that's why we're not seeing the big push out kind of updates. Like I think they're a fairly small team as far as I know, but yeah, they've done the good work. I have faith, at least I do. And I will say they have come a far way from the first time. The first time I played it, we couldn't even be two people in the same boat. We couldn't even have the same company. Networking was janky at best. So the fact that we're now multi-crewing in the same company and everything, it's they've so far they're beating Star Citizen for my sake.
I mean, that's fair. And they haven't had a budget of 900 million, so
that's insane.
and 12 years.
That's insane.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the thing where you I mean, it's all sold, not the same scope and scale.
No,
whatever.
By all means.
But yeah, I'm optimistic. I'm personally glad that I played it at this point and not earlier, because whilst I think I have quite a good tolerance, it's something in the last 6 to 12 months or so that I'm slowly drifting a little bit away I get quite a lot of invitations to like early accesses and demos and stuff like that, and I've realized that I've subdivided my time a little bit excessively on some of these things, and I would benefit from waiting just a little bit longer, even though often the community comes with me on the journey and they're like, oh wow, cool, okay. And we get people who sadly get influenced into jumping into games as well. And sometimes, you know, it's good if they love it. That's awesome. But I'm a little bit wary of it. And also just for my own sake of my limited creative energy in that, I'm like, okay, a game needs to have a certain, doesn't have to necessarily be like a full 1.0, although I welcome that when companies do try and get a solid product done first. But it just we're becoming more wary of the whole early access and like, well, what exactly does that mean? Like, are you talking about the concept and your philosophy, or are you talking about what's actually in your product right now? And like, have to be quite enamored and excited about a thing to really want to dive into it. And we'll talk a bit about that in a little while.
There's a lot of early access that has simply become shovelware, as Cthulhu calls it, and it's a bit sad because there are a lot of games out there that will truly be absolutely fabulous and well worth the time to play, but they get abandoned, like you say, for the next best thing or such. And I know there are some companies that have been in my emails being like, hey, you want to try this game from us? And then a few days later, I get an email from that same email, but with a different name and a different game. And I'm like, if you're going to create a business email, create it on your business, not the... And I'm just going to throw them under the bus here, supercar fantasy trading shop simulator or whatever it was called. And then suddenly have clothing store simulator and I think I've had like 5 or 6 different ones. Like at some point it starts to get suspicious and annoying, and just clearly that you're just, this is just, it's shovelware, right? Okay, don't give me something more to work with. And Ships at Sea certainly has delivered on that, and I hope more people will do that. Some people that certainly have earned their right to be on the market because it's fabulous is Powerwash Simulator 2, or Powerwash Simulator in general. I've recently played this together with Mari because it has multiplayer and it's fabulous. Having played, have you ever played Powerwash Simulator?
No, I've seen it, but I've never played it myself.
Okay. So, how do I explain this? You've heard me talk about hyper-focus before. Where the entirety of the focus of the brain, like all other things such as breathing or drinking or moving or any, like, it just gets shut down and moved aside because you're hyper focusing on one thing. Powerwash Simulator 1 was like the amount of times I needed to remind myself to blink, to actively, like, oh, my eyes are burning, what is going on? Oh, blink, 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 blink. There you go. Yes, okay, continue on. And then you just, like, you're just so taken in by this dirt slowly disappearing, and regularly you get the little ping of joy, ding, like, oh, you've watched another part. Oh, congratulations. And it's that constant feed of dopamine. Just a tiny trickle of dopamine. I'm sad to announce that Powerwash Simulator 2 does the same thing. Just as well. No, it's a lot of fun. It is honestly a lot of fun, and it's almost therapeutic in its own way, because you load in and I'm just gonna wash this car, okay, and then you wash the car and then you hop out again, or I'm just gonna wash this mansion and just completely hyper focus on it for a few hours because that's all I want and need to do. I'm just gonna do that. And it's just one of those games that allow you, it gives you a breathing room. Like, it actually takes up enough space without being overwhelming that you get that relaxation. You get that very important little escape from reality for a bit. At least for me. Like, your mileage may vary, but I have a feeling that so many people can sit down with this game and just have a bit of, oh yeah, I know this is nice. This is really nice. I'm enjoying this, you know? And yeah, it's a powerful tool to hear those little pings of dopamine whenever you complete another little part. So for anyone who's out there mining dopamine, go ahead. Get yourself some Powerwash Simulator 2. I'll be honest, Grumbles, I'm not sure it would be good for you and your headaches because of the way the movement system is. I know a lot of people have said that they struggle with how you maneuver around and so on. Because there's no third person in it.
Yeah.
There are ways of kind of unlocking the movement system so that you don't always move the head around. Like, you can just free move the hands as you're washing. And that has helped some people with motion sickness and so on, but still, yeah.
Yeah, it is one of the things when I've watched a little bit of it that I've been slightly cautious of. It's yeah. I don't know. I think also just learning about myself from playing many different games in the last few years, it's I think it's one of those that I probably would have some enjoyment of that, but I don't know. I'm not sure if it brings. It's something that I'm noticing in games is if I'm not seeing I think it's an amount of variety that I'm looking for. I think once I feel like I've done a thing and I've understood a pattern, I'm like, okay, I get that pattern. What's the next pattern? Rather than there are certain things where I'm like, okay, if I really enjoy a certain activity, you know, for example, like fishing mini games and things like that, I might do that a bit more often. But even there, I don't like to overdo it. I need to go somewhere else and see something different or find something different, and it's not purely a progression thing. It's just it's a way to keep my brain distracted, I guess, or like in a weird way, like keep the artistic creative side engaged, and I need different stimuli for that rather than just so it's a game that I think I can see how people enjoy a lot of it, but it's the kind of game I think I would play like an hour of it and it'd be like, okay, I understand this now. Now show me something completely different, and the game won't be able to because that's what the game does, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, the progression in this is not about the task you do because you keep doing the same task, but it's about unlocking new washing equipment to be more efficient from greater ranges and broader wash heads and whatnot, you know? It's that sort of thing. There is story, surprisingly fun story, but yeah, not necessarily the biggest focus of the of the game, no. But it is one of those that I think can catch a lot of people off guard. Like, oh yeah, okay, like it's brilliant in its simplicity because it aims to do one job really well, which is often a really good thing for a game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at you, Cast and Chill. It really does one thing really well, and it's cast and chill. You know?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It does exactly what it says on the tin.
Exactly. There you go. But that has been those recently played games. Tell us a bit about your recently played games in the comments and whatnot. What has been taking up your time? Tilted, we're not talking about you and World of Sea Battle. And speaking of being influenced, but let us know what games you've been playing, because we are also gamers after all, and we like to hear about other people's adventures, especially for what we will be aiming to do going forward. You know, we might sit down and be like, oh, this looks like a fun game. Someone told me about this. Let's give it a whirl.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of whirling, what's the Airborne update going to bring to Foxhole?
Planes and stuff. Actually,
Whirl.
Yeah, it's got loads of content updates and changes and new vehicles and things. But obviously the big part is you go from something that has been, well, initially was all ground warfare, then turned into naval update, where they added a lot of ships and submarines and things, and now they're adding aircraft, including aircraft carriers, which could be absolutely amazeballs. Bombers, paratrooper planes to drop people in behind enemy lines or whatever. All sorts of updates to the gameplay. So like paratroopers initially when they drop in, at the moment they get half an hour where they won't appear on intel, like so radar systems and stuff like that. So it just opens up all sorts of shenanigan possibilities for partisan activity. There's like simple scout planes that you can pretty much build early on and just go and have a flyabout or whatever, and they think they can land on the water as well, those ones. And then you got fighter planes, which are your air-to-air engagement. Then you've got other one like light bombers and heavy bombers and stuff like that. It's a major piece of development work. Like actively, they've worked on it for over a year, and long term, they've been, little bit by bit thinking about how to do it for about 5 years, is what the devs said on their live stream. It looks like. It looks really impressive and amazing, and I'm super excited for it.
Mm-hmm.
I only have one reservation or the problem, the challenge with Foxhole. Firstly, I think it'll be one of those. I think they're dropping it in February or something. Not sure. Don't quote me on that. I have to look it up. But I think it'll have a massive, lots of streamers and stuff will be all over it, and then the usual creators and the player, and lots of people will come back that have played on and off for years, because it's so different to the same with when the naval came in. It's like, what, you can go on ships now and submarines and torpedo and whatever, right? And then the slight worry always with Foxhole is that there's obviously a huge meta element. Of what's the best build and how do you do this, and can you they've done good things already, where the planes act like repelling magnets, so you can't just ram a plane out of the sky and stuff, because that's an obvious one. But even June didn't think of that before they first put their doctors in. So Foxhole had the benefit of learning what a debacle that could be. So they've done something about that, and. It's so funny because Foxhole is such a. It reminds me of World of Warships player base sometimes, where you have, you have the angry mob, and you have the super excited hyped mob, and then you have everyone else in the middle somewhere between one or the other end of the spectrum, depending on if they're having a good time with the game recently, or they like some change that came or not. And like just watching the live stream where there was like, I don't know how many it was, but it was big. It was like 10,000 people or more. And just watching the chat and the mixture of like, you get the usual. It's like watching, that's why I can't watch the Warship streams, because you get 10 people going, oh, this is kind of cool, or this is interesting, here's a naval fact, and that kind of general chatter. And then you get half a dozen people going, give code.
Yeah.
Right? But then you get every 15th entry, you get the, I bloody hate this thing, or this is terrible, or this is going to be, and then they go into the whole prophesizing what's going to happen, like this is going to be awful, and that's going to, and this side gets all the love, and this is, Balan's comrade, and that stuff. the Foxhole people are really passionate in that same way. So that's the only thing, and I've learned that, like, I've seen like some quite big, and it's probably more likely to happen to them, but we've seen it a little bit once or twice with me as well, is that, it's the thing of like, well, I can't have the map on the screen, I've got to cover that up, I can't, have the chat on the screen, I've got to cover that up, which is, chat, fair enough, I do that for WoWs as well, because I can't be bothered, I just turn it off, actually. So there's a bit of me that's like, firstly, it's one of those isometrics, or does it stream that well anyway? But I think with the aircraft and everything, it's going to add the different dimension or whatever So it's going to, I think that will overrule any, like, do people generally want to watch Foxhole? They're going to be like, wow, this is really different. Seeing planes in Foxhole in this way is going to be amazing. But there's this whole like stigma and this whole thing of like, people are gonna metagame, they're gonna look in your streams, they're gonna, look, they're preparing some planes to attack over here, let's go and ruin their day kind of thing. So you're gonna get that stream sniping element, albeit the people generally, if you want to do that stuff in Foxhole, you have enough tools and tricks and what they call alt accounts, where you like, you just have a second account that logs in on the enemy team's side. Yeah. And you can go, oh, look, that's where they have their base, and that's where they're building their, so it's sad because it's cheating and whatever and against all the TOS, but people will do it anyway because it's the internet. So I'm hoping, and I'm super excited that it could be like a fun time, but it's always tinged with an element of like, oh, I can't be bothered with any toxicity, man. It's like, because at the end of the day, it's a massively multiplayer online game, PvP. So that's what it is at its core, But yeah, so that's the Airborne update. It's I watched the sort of dev videos and a couple of creators who've made videos of when they were allowed to come out of embargo and release it and stuff. And yeah, it kind of looks a bit. It's Foxhole, so Foxhole has that kind of isometric pseudo jank element to it, like. Like when you look at it at first, you're like, my God, why do people actually play this kind of thing? But then if you actually get into it, it's like, oh, okay, I see. So you go over here and you mine the resource, and you go over here to a factory and you get the components, and you go over here to an airfield and you deliver the components, and someone else makes the plane together, and then you get on board with other players and stuff, and you got all the in-game VoIP works really well. You've got squad VoIP as well as proximity local area VoIP. As well as all the different chat channels and that as well. And you can have a really, like, when we get a squad together and do the whole Barovia thing, it's a good time. So expect some Foxhole down the line.
So is it safe to say that you're hyped for Foxhole?
A little bit. I'm excited but nervous at the same time.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I can see that, because introducing planes, which is very different mechanic to such a game, it's important that it's balanced out, or else you'll have one of these moments of the instant someone has a plane, it's pretty much going to dominate, and that'll break lines, it'll break games, it'll have a very negative effect. So hopefully they have that ready to go. Some other folks that also are doing some hype and hopefully are ready to go. Hytale, or should we call them Hypetale?
Yeah, it's both really, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk and chatter about this game, and I've I've heard so many people be like, "Oh, you need to play this game," or "Oh, this is fabulous," and I'm like, "Is it though? Is it really?" Because like it's Minecraft, but it has more elements. It's modded Minecraft. That is honestly all it is. But it's modded in like, okay, for clarity's sake, it's not Minecraft, but it plays exactly like Minecraft does, but it looks different because there's a different skin pack on it.
I mean, they've
added other elements, they've added other things, by all means, but at its core essence, this is Minecraft. And I say that in a way where I'm not including Vintage Story in that kind of statement, because Vintage Story, whereas it started as Minecraft, turned into something different. It's taken it to a different level, a completely different level, a completely different route. Hytale doesn't do that. And I could probably have fun with it. I could probably really enjoy it. But what I'm seeing right now is not something that is drawing me in.
Mm.
And it's kind of like the what was the one that came out from Gaijin 2?
Cubic Odyssey.
Yeah, that one. Same thing. Same thing there. Like, it looks fabulous. It could probably be a lot of fun, but it's just modified Minecraft. That's all it is. That's all it feels like to me. I might as well mod Minecraft in that case for my sake. So what? So what's Hypetale to you? Sorry, Hytale.
So it started off as I just heard these whispers, like some strange creature was coming out of the forest or whatever, of like, oh, have you heard about this new Minecraft killer? And like, firstly, just to preface this, I've never played Minecraft before. I'm fully aware of like what it is in general. I've played a fair bit of Vintage Story, but I've never played actual Minecraft, modded or otherwise. And one of the reasons was because it looked too much like a kid's game. Like, I don't mean that in any critical sense, but just like, over-saturated colors and, and the whole package just didn't really appeal to me. I was like, okay, I can see this. But almost every creator I've heard playing has been like, oh, my son loves this, so I wanted to play it with them, kind of. That's the starting point. Or they were a lot younger or are a lot younger than me, so it's like just hit them when it first came out. But it wasn't something where I kind of got hit by it when it first arrived. So it was, I guess just another one of those ones that I've missed. So I was a bit like when Hytale came along, I was a bit or let's start on a different tack. I played Vintage Story a lot, and I liked Vintage Story, and then we got into playing some modded stuff and playing on some server instances and things. And a little bit of it made me think, oh, I wonder what Minecraft's like then, because, this is actually a lot more fun than I would have thought. And then I've seen a couple of people like Dr. Gluon playing Minecraft a little bit here and there, and he's got a way of having fun and just letting that inner child run free kind of thing, and I enjoy that element of it. So then the Hytale thing, the rumors, the whispers start coming in on the winds of like, oh, there's this Minecraft killer. And I'm like, anytime I hear something like that, I'm like, who cares? Unless it's your product, either you're going to play this and enjoy it or you're not, or you're going to play both and enjoy them or not. It doesn't, I don't get this whole fake hype thing of like, oh, Minecraft, who cares? Well, unless, are you going to invest in it? Whatever. But anyway, so I kind of dismissed it because I was like, irrelevant to me.
Yeah, and then creating hyperbole. That's all.
Yeah, and then I saw a couple of people pick it up, and so I was like, okay, well, these are some people that I know having, Cletus having a look at it, and the TLS guys or whatever did 5 minutes, And that's usually a good. So I watched a little bit of that, and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. It's got some slightly softer edges to things for a block game. It's got, it was interesting about. I saw some people like, doing like animal husbandry or whatever, or just like actually just like picking up every animal that they ran up to that wasn't an enemy, and then putting them in barns and houses and stuff like that. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. And so I just started like informing myself a little bit, and it was one of those. Okay, it's early access. It has actually been in development for many years. I think, what was it, 7 or 8 years or something. But they have their own engine. In fact, their second version of their engine that it's on now. And I thought, okay, I quite like, because one thing sometimes with Vintage Story is the chiseling is awesome, but the game fundamentally does feel obviously incredibly blocky all the time. And sometimes I get to the point where I'm like, oh, I'm really enjoying this, but could we just round off some of these edges a little bit? Could it just, and the other thing with Vintage Story is that the color palette is, deliberately, it's very, like dulled down. Like there's a different word that I was going to use, but I've forgotten what it was now. Anyway, it's like a little bit desaturated kind of thing. And sometimes I'm like, when you play that a lot, like hours and hours, like week on week, and you're doing a longer story or whatever, sometimes I get a little bit kind of, I don't know, I don't want to exaggerate it, but it feels a little bit depressing, like, or oppressive, like, oh, the world really does feel like it's a bit miserable, but it still has its glorious moments, but they're, not generally what you're seeing. And so I looked at this one from that perspective, and I thought, when I'm feeling a bit down or when I get away from things in a game, this actually, because you can go too far with the saturation and the vibrancy. It's it's a subjective thing, but for me, that's one of the things that felt like a barrier to playing Minecraft. It felt too kiddified, too much like that. And this one, so I watched a few people play it, and I was like, yeah, this is obviously early access. There's a lot of hype around it. Kudos to them. Apparently, they're working to quite a big budget, quite a big team, from what I heard. But it's a hearsay. I don't have any facts to back it up. But I'm looking a little bit through their website and whatnot, and seeing how the people kind of behave and how they're expressing themselves in regards to their product. So there's kind of a few things which are a bit like, spider sense is a bit tingling. I'm not sure, is this a good time and everything. And then I fell into the trap because I watched Gassy and Cream and Cletus and Burke play, and I thought, okay, that's cool. I've seen enough of that. I don't need to worry about it. That's not one that I have to stress or have on the to-do list. And then I watched, gave it a couple of days, and people were kind of still having a go, but a few people moved on, and I thought, and that's usually a good signal. Like when they move on after 1 or 2 days, you're like, okay, I can shelve that one and come back and look at that in a year or something, because I'm trying to just pick not too many games for this year and say, let's have a proper go at like these 10 games or whatever this year, and fit a few little things in between rather than playing 30 different games and being confused at the end of the year. So I was all fine, and then I started to watch Doc Luon play it. And he's kind of ruined it, because in that he's made it look like a fantastic, fun, relaxing time. And to the point where this morning, before and after the editorial, mostly before, I was looking in Vintage Story for mods that were shaders, reshaders, and like color vibrancy changes and stuff like that. And I found a couple of things which are quite beautiful, make like reflections in the water and stuff like that, and it makes it look a lot more immersive. But unfortunately, the only one I found for the color palette is deprecated, so it doesn't work anymore. So I'm kind of like, I really don't need to pick up. This wasn't on the list, because 2 weeks ago you could have said Hytale, and I'd be like, what's that? And my first response to it, even to chat, was like, I've had a look at that. That's a lot of hype. I'm not worried about that. That's not ready for me. And like within about a week and a half, I'm like, I could play a cheeky little bit of Hytale. could just fire up a community server and have a little look at that. yeah, it's so I'm trying to go through their website and look at their roadmap and they've got some things about their philosophy and that. And it's weird because I've read through some of their articles and I'm like, you're not really it reads like a list of reasonably well worded caveats of like, we don't have this, we don't have that, with a few statements intermingled in there with like, but we're really committed to this and this is absolutely what we're going to do. Okay, but where exactly are you evidencing that? And then they've put some like artwork in there that you can download and whatnot, and you can sort of see they're trying to match their, we intend to do this with like, here's a picture and we intend to follow through on like what's in this picture. So again, I've got more, and again, I can't prove any of it, but I have seen that they've been doing active updates. So like people are logging on, playing, and they're like, oh wow, this works. Oh, this wasn't even in the game yesterday. Amazing. So it's kind of on that sort of a scale that they're like actively working, because again, they have quite a big budget, and we're talking millions, and we're talking sort of big teams with that, I guess. And they're really going for it and trying to make the most of this hype wave, I guess. That makes sense. So yeah, it's one of those that I'm going to keep a close eye on, and even the fact that we talked about it, or I've rambled on for so long, probably shows that how torn I am that I want to dip my toe into it, but I don't know if it's ready enough for me yet. So we'll see.
The thing to remember about people like Gluon when they play games like that, he is good with games like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the sort of stuff that can be dangerous to some of us when we're sitting down and looking at games being like, oh, this looks fabulous. I can enjoy this. I can play this. And then you get to the realization that, wait, I don't play these games in the same way. I'm not having the same experience. So that's something to keep in mind for Hytale.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you normally play this sort of game? Like, how does this behave in your game sphere? And because I know there have been times where people have been like, oh, Tiger, you gotta play this game, and I sit down and play it like, it's crap. Why am I playing this game? And they're like, oh, you're playing it wrong. No, I'm playing it my way.
Yeah,
I'm playing it how I would play a game, and that's why I'm telling you this doesn't work for me. I'm not the one to rush forward. I'm not the one to explore everything at once and power a game my way through, which is what certain games want and need you to do. I'm not always going to go cookie cutter. I'm not always going to be trying to reach the highest amount of money in a game, Damien. It's weird. Did you hear that bus? That was strange.
Yeah, it was
wow,
weird. I did not expect a Norwegian bus on that corner.
No, neither did I. Suddenly there it was. So yeah, no, keeping that in mind with a game like Hytale is very important. So yeah, I'll keep an eye on it, but honestly, if I want a blocky game that's meant for world building, I'll play Minecraft, and I'll put up a server, and I'll do a creative game and like build something huge like Minas Tirith or something like that, because that's what I want out of that kind of game. But if I want something that gives me animal husbandry and world exploration, I'll play Enshrouded, you know. So I'll look at it, but right now it's a lot of hype for my sake. It's a lot of hype for my sake.
Yep.
Also, it also scares me a bit when I know devs are doing very quick iterations of additions to a game. That always makes me a bit like, ugh, is this good? Am I okay with that? Because it sends me mixed signals. I can't quite explain it, but it sends me mixed signals somehow.
Yeah, I like that they have a framework that they can plug things in and out of.
Yeah.
I like that they're taking feedback from the community, but I also sense, I also have caution in that they may also just succumb to like trends and oh quick, everyone's just swarmed and the swarm's floated off to that tree over there. Let's do what's in that tree over there. And then 2 days later, it's like, oh no, they've moved over to that one over there now, so drop that. And that may or may not be a good path to follow. So yeah, I mean, I think that I applaud them for being open and showing and talking about what they're doing and where they're at. Yeah, I don't know. I suppose it's that weird element of FOMO mixed in with like, is it genuine hype? Like this is going to be really good, or is it just, oh look, shiny, and then a month later, yeah, who cares? There's there's another thing or whatever. So, but it's definitely piqued my interest, and yeah, we'll see where we go with that.
We'll keep an eye on it, simply because it could turn out good. It could turn out shit. Who knows? Just having to see. Just have to see. Suddenly I had a tiny stroke, it seems. Whatever. It's fine. It's probably nothing. It's just me being tired, don't worry. for legal reasons and medical reasons, I'm fine.
Don't play a prank and put like an audio, piped in audio beep sound or whatever, like everything's just gone dead.
Good gods. No. We're not doing that. I don't know how to segue this, except know your role. Welcome
Still
to
an all-time classic,
right? Like the bert at the end there. So good, so good. We are going to talk a bit about eco and more specific. Oh, for flip's sake! I thought I fixed that. I thought. Okay, let me. Leaning into the. It says right now. On the leaning into it says now. That's great. I give up, Crumbles. Okay, let me see. What if I
don't give up, it'll be fine.
What if we do this and like that? Does that look okay? Leaning into the character. There we go. I figured it out, Grumbles. Yay. Anyway, welcome to Know Your Role, where we, as of speaking, we are in the middle of another DRP ECO season, jumping headfirst into creating a new little town and having chaos and so on. And of course that's gonna feed into like our little role-playing segment here, which is Know Your Role. Mari had a question that we are kind of touching on here. We've already partially answered one of her questions because she asked what we were thinking of Hytale and how we're enjoying our eco. You now heard what we're thinking about Hytale, but regarding eco, you want to talk more specific about leaning into the character, and I think I can start us off here by saying that Richard Robert Roller was supposed to be 100% roleplay character. He wasn't gonna have any sort of in-game shop or in-game mechanic-wise reason to be in the world. He was going to be out there and talking to people and bringing messages back and forth. I had a whole thing planned with what was originally going to be TIGER, Township Information Guide and Errand Robot this time around. But that got nixed. So all my plans for that had to be remade. So then Richard Robert Waller was born as almost the same character, but I needed to redo a lot of the prep work I'd done. And suddenly, I'm no longer allowed to use the main tool that I was going to use, because some people see it as power gaming. And I'm kind of annoyed because it's removed a lot of my reason to have the character. But I can also understand it. So it's two sides of a coin here. I want to point that out. I'm just annoyed because I've lost all those hours of work that I kind of put into thinking about how do I play this, how do I use this, how do I progress this, how do I have fun with this, how do I create good scenes with it. Entirely leaning into a character. And suddenly it's gone. So now I'm pretty much just playing Eco as a weirdo. That's all I'm doing.
Same as everyone, then.
You know, you're not wrong.
I mean, if you took most of these characters and met them in real life, you'd be worried.
This is true. But now I want to ask you, when you say leaning into the character, I think I know where you're going with this, but I want to ask you, what do you mean when you say leaning into the character?
So I think you have to, like, in a sort of simple form, it's a case of you just find that space in your head where you don't just sort of theoretically embrace the character, but you actually put yourself in that circumstance, in that scene, in that conversation, and and I think it becomes more of an improvisation session, where you might have an overall plan or something that you're aiming towards, but you go much more into a back and forth, like just a normal everyday conversation. But for me, it's a case of really like letting go and saying and taking account more, like paying a bit more attention to like what's the movements and mannerisms of the other characters, or what scene are we in? Like, is there an unusual object on the table? That kind of thing. So just trying to take in or like zoom in a little bit and say, okay, let's observe the scene that we're in and really feel like we're living and breathing, and like I'm actually sitting in this chair opposite this person behind the desk kind of situation. So wherever it might be, and it's funny, but it's a little trick of the mind where you go from, you might have like a funny little quip or something, you know, your mannerism, like your character's tics or whatever, that when, you know, how they say hello, whatever, but you go beyond that. That's like the starter layer, and that can be completely fine because at least you're behaving and having those mannerisms and expressing yourself as your character. And then the level below that, deeper into it, is what's listening and starting to almost take away those thoughts that you had prior to the engagement and just see what's actually happening during the course of this engagement. Where is this conversation flowing? What's going on, or what's happening around us? That kind of thing. You know, is it nighttime? Has the sun just come up over the horizon? That, you know, as somebody with a cart's just gone by in the distance. So what kind of things might impact and influence your character's kind of state of mind and observations at that point, and therefore what they might say next or what they might listen, how their behavior might change in the scene. And the reason I brought this up is because I want to sort of do another positive shout out, because we had a couple of scenes at the Academy Island where Yvonne went quite late of a day. I was like, okay, we'll do one little bit more and see where, and then it was like 2 hours later or whatever. but we went to talk to the banking lady about the whole being sued by Ezekiel situation, because we'd met other characters through the course of that day that had filled all sorts of gaps in Ivan's knowledge and information about the world, about Ezekiel, about the academy, about the multiple places and circumstances being sued. And so there was a whole backdrop that was being put together in 2 or 3 different scenes and conversations with different people. And they were giving like different bits of advice, or like what they're doing, or what their experience, or what they heard, that kind of thing. And I used all of that as ingredients to then, okay, this is informing Ivan's approach, and this is how he's going to kind of go about it. This is his kind of his strategy. And then, but then being wary to like not have a fixed plan, but a like a framework or whatever, and a bunch of pieces on there, a bunch of jigsaw piece puzzles. Start making a little bit of a frame with it, and then see what happens in the scenes to fill in. And the real delight and genuine enjoyment I got from that whole evening of extended evening of RP was that Aya's character Dorothy at the bank and Outlaw's character Daisy at the newspaper, both of them lent into their characters and into the scenes, and what was, you know, it became that very enjoyable reciprocal situation of like, you know, here one player puts something down as their character and the other person picks up and, you know, adds something to it and puts it back down on the table, and it became a real fun immersive interaction where it wasn't what it took it from that first layer of basic mannerisms and statements and behaviors, where you're doing that kind of light RP, slightly into immersive, but you could leave it at that surface layer and everyone would have a bit of a giggle, but you're still in that level of, we're having a bit of a giggle here, aren't we? We're having a bit of a laugh. Look at us, we're role playing kind of thing. And we went from that to that next level, fully immersive, where it was like, okay, these characters really care about the outcome of this conversation. There's a real like win, you know, or gain and loss kind of negotiation and transaction kind of going on here as part of this conversation, where we sort of directed the conversation gently down this path of like, okay, this is where the mutual benefit of these two characters can be, where as players we'd gain nothing from it, but as characters, huge implications for their stories and their existence in the world. And because it wasn't about something, it wasn't like, oh, I'm really trying to get this, you know, item or or this book or whatever, but it was all about this entirely RP circumstance of like falling down a hole and being sued and all this kind of stuff. So it was nice because that's freeing. Then means that all the players can lean in, because there's nothing to actually gain or lose from it. Other, you know, it's the story is itself. That's what it is. So that and then talking with the about the relevance of the newspaper and the press and how that might be, you know, there's a beneficial way of going about this, and there's certain things that might be good to not print and kind of how can Ivan do that? He's not a mafioso, but he's like, how can I influence them without being a bad guy? And the whole thing just, I don't know exactly how long the sequence was, like hour and a half or 2 hours or whatever, but like the whole thing with those scenes and then everything around, like leading up to it beforehand, which was another couple of hours, traveling the world, meeting different characters, exchanging different ideas, people giving their input on the topic or what they'd heard, something similar or whatever, and it culminating. So it was like a really extended multi-hour. You could almost cut those scenes together and make it into like a little short, like a TV episode or something. You know, it was like, oh wow, that went from here to here to here, and then it ends on a bit of a positive cliffhanger of like, okay, we have a plan of action. Let's go. And then tune in next week, folks, because you'll see what, you know, where that goes next. And then some of that stuff is now made its way back to Barovia and to the team, and they've, the conversation we had on Friday night and the stuff over the weekend with various characters about, okay, well, now we need to do this and we need to prioritize this activity for the town because it relates to this other topic. And just like, and you've got all the weird and wacky stuff as well, like Dingus not losing his jellyfish and, all that kind of stuff. And the whole like Sue being the lawyer, but she's no longer defending us. She's attacking us with the Ezekiel. And, it was just, and then we had like the farmer's market, all this other stuff. And it was just nice to have been able to lean into the characters so much and have other people do so at the same time. So it became like it's become like an integral storyline with lots of facets to those characters and that world. And it has ultimately nothing to do with progress, game mechanics, winning or losing as a player or whatever. It's just all 100% RP. And so I just wanted to go on about it a little bit here so that I could share that and, have people, have some thoughts on it or whatever. And yeah, what about your experiences? Where have you, with that sort of loose definition of what I mean by leaning into the character and kind of fleshing that world out collaboratively with others?
Well, I think that's where I kind of committed a roleplay faux pas in that I, with the thoughts that I had for TIGR, and because last season was great, but I wanted to do more roleplay. I wanted to be more out in the world. So I fashioned an idea in my head of how to do that. How to do something that would be conversation piece. How to do something that could like simply be a very simple role where I won't need to be chasing food all the time. I won't need to be chasing having the nicest house because it gives an XP bonus or whatever. I set out to do that with my character because there was a specific request from the DRP people saying we want more people to do more just RP jobs, like fully RP jobs. So I set out to do that, and like I mentioned initially, the faux pas here was that I think I made too much of the roadmap an idea of where I wanted to go with it. Kind of like it's one of those things that you can do with any roleplay character. We're talking tabletop, we're talking DM's stories and so on. If you build it out too much, there could be things ending up in your way that massively derail you. My first derailment was, of course, that I couldn't play Tiger for perfectly fine reasons. Like that's all on me for not reading all the fine print and not reading the rules that were on a completely different section. Dim World. Just saying. But I managed to get around that. But again, I still had way too much of an idea fleshed out in my head of how I wanted things to go, how I planned on doing things. Because the idea was to use the Goixlar as a recording device and take messages. But over time, these messages would start mixing together and start cutting in the wrong place. So you end up with a half message, or play something that was supposed to be secret to someone else, and create scenes out of it. Because part of the idea was that Richard Robert Waller was supposed to be a morally gray influencer and be like, oh, you're not supposed to hear that. Oh, well, what's it worth to you? And kind of be there. And suddenly I wasn't allowed to use the GoXLR anymore. So it took away all of that, all of those ideas. And on one side, I'm like, I can understand this, but I've also now lost my entire roleplay idea. my entire job and thought for how to bring roleplay and make scenes was suddenly gone. So I needed to shift that. And it's such a massive shift because suddenly I'm like, I have nothing. I need to create these letters suddenly and use them to carry around, you know, without necessarily being the postal office or the post service, because that was also a thing. Like suddenly there was a post service, and I think that's cool. But when you run a messenger service that's meant for quick and straightforward messages and not stuff like that, then yeah. So I'm leaning into the character now, and this is where your point of kind of finding those moments of how do I absorb this world, kind of, you know. And instead of now having the recording device, the RP element I can have is saying that I'm a messenger and then talking about the people that sabotaged his recording device. I have a feeling I've been sabotaged. There are powers that be that do not want me to do what I do. They're afraid of me, I tell you, if you know what I mean. And then just kind of lean into that way and create this kind of bubble of, whoa, what's going on? You know? Well, are there suspicious things going on at the academy or with other people? Who knows, you know? And just be that kind of guy. And not for the sake of creating conflict, but just creating those moments of, oh dear, you know? But then just moving along swiftly, you know? So I'm definitely, I'm trying to lean into it, but I'm also trying to undo some of my own preconceived notions about where I would be going with this character. And trying to do it in a good way. You know, finding purpose, finding those moments of not just being a game mechanic. Because that is very important to me. It's something that I did with Tiger last season, where the deatomization stations, which was a lot of fun. Like, you're simply doing milling, but it's you put a different spin on it, you know? And it gave RP. So I wanted to take that to a new level. But yeah. I don't know. I'm enjoying it a lot, but it's taking a lot of my spoons to rework. How do I approach Richard? How do I use him in a good way? How do I exist in a world where I wasn't gonna be in this fashion at all? You know? So,
I think, yeah,
go ahead.
Oh, it just made me think when you talked about the sabotage thing with the devices and that. I thought maybe there's another avenue you can explore as well, where Richard starts becoming like a because you know how you were going to do the slightly cut off messages or the you know, bad editing and all this kind of thing. Well, maybe Richard now has to like make notes and write letters and things, but rather than going too much in the direction of doing the more mechanical thing, because I bet you 90% of the letters are, oh, could you make me 2 tables? Could you make me 10 blocks? Or, you know what I mean? It's just people working around, not RPing out what they're trying to do, because, you know, either they couldn't get, I came to your store earlier and I wanted to buy 3 of these and they're not there. I mean, I've got no proof for that, and I don't really care. But I can imagine easily that that's
that's definitely happened out there. That's definitely happened out there.
Yeah. Which is like, then I'm like, well, that's like, there's pros and cons to all of these things, and I think having the mail system in place is great for if you're trying to have the characters catch up with each other and keep up to date on stories and things. But not if it's a way of circumventing the fact that I'm not online with this person, so but I need them to do work for me or whatever. The same as how I feel about stores. I get it. There's nothing I can do about it. So it's always going to be a bugbear for me. So I try not to rant about it too much, but people just over rely on stores. It's just nonsense. It's like, no, how do you know this businessman? How do you do business with them? How did this all come about, this supply and demand? Because the person that lives in the middle of the desert suddenly found his way to the middle of the forest on a completely different continent and just happened to find the one person that was selling 12 shovels or whatever. It's like, no, that doesn't. Where's the story to go with all of that? So that always bugs me.
And that's where I was going to be with Richard, right? I wasn't going to have a store. I was going to be the shipwright that doesn't really make ships. Like, it was all going to be for show. Like, the shipwright table was just going to be there for being like, I'm working on my pleasure craft. I'm going to cruise the world one day. It was going to be that thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to be, hey, I sell these things.
Yeah, which would still be. Can you imagine the late season or the season wrap up, and you haven't made a single boat the whole season?
That was the
It'd
idea.
be flipping hilarious.
That was the idea. There was going to be a canoe there. It was going to stay there and be like, it's a work in progress. You see, I'm hoping to. That was the entire idea.
Yeah. Or you put two canoes out in the water and you say it's a catamaran. I'm still working on the connecting the hull or whatever. And it just never. And you have a big sign there. And actually, the signs get bigger and better quality as you go along. And it always says, caution, catamaran, pleasure cruise catamaran under construction. So the whole dock gets bigger and everything gets bigger. The signs get bigger and more creative. But the two canoes just sit exactly where they were the whole season. Yeah, that would be, and you should still do that, I think. But anyway, so my other idea was with the whole messaging part of it is because we've got you as Ivan always says, the town crybaby, meaning town crier.
Yeah.
What you could do something where it's like rumors, where you take a message but you just kind of TLDR it. And miss a keyword or whatever, so it just becomes, because I like the idea of going to Richard and saying, oh, Richard, what's new? Have you heard anything from, so let's say Nottingham or whatever, we've been having a lot of trouble with them or whatever. And then you just regale us with one or two TLDRs of that stuff that's like, you're not deliberately lying. I mean, you are out of character, but like in character, it's just like, just say like a clumsy messenger, you know what I mean? So, and that could tie into the fact that your dictaphone equipment was being sabotaged. So you've had to start keeping notes, but there's so many people that are calling upon your services. It's hard to keep everything, You can either go one way and say, these are perfect. I keep all the perfect notes, even though they're horribly imperfect, just like you're making the perfect pleasure cruise, but it's actually just two canoes in a massive dry dock. You could. It's just an idea that occurred to me while you were talking. I was like, well, and then I would just go with like a sort of Chinese whispers or a rumor kind of thing, where it's like, well, I heard, I don't know for sure, but I heard such and such was doing this, and so's had a bit of a falling out with XYZ or what. Nothing malicious, but just like, keep it maybe like non-character specific a little bit as well, like. I heard the Academy's, really scraped for cash right now. So, I'm sure that's a coincidence. It's got nothing to do with all of these different insurance claims and accident claims that are, that their glorious leader has been, and do that kind of thing. That might be, that might work. And that way you can say, well, I'm keeping notes, but you're not actually writing or either that, or you do actually make a few in-game letters, but they're the Telegram TLDR. Must stop. Kind of thing, so it turns into more of a Blackadder reading a message kind of skit.
Yeah, and that is the entire thing I wanted to do, but I don't know how to do it, or I didn't know how I could do it in a good way, like translate the idea I had, because in my head, and this is definitely my tism speaking. In my head, the written note, I couldn't F that up, in my head with me as a player, I don't know how to. I don't know how to make it seem like, oh, okay, this is scribbled down in a bad way, such that you don't understand anything else than paracetamol and two ravens. Like, what? What does this mean? You know, I don't know how to do that. But I think that's because I had this really grand idea of how to mess up the recordings, because I know how to use the Go XLR in a good way. Like the whole the whole idea with all of these bits that I could have, all of them instantly deleted after I'm done with it, by all means, but I could easily cut them off. Like I just have to do a slider and then the message gets cut off, you know? Or starts recording too soon, and then you get all this preamble of, Billy, have you seen the sky this morning? It's very pink. Oh yeah, yeah, Rick, it's super pink. He's now we've had this on my farm, and you know, and then you hear all this conversation, and anyway about that message, and then doot.
Yeah,
you know,
no, it was a good concept, but I don't know. Give it some thought anyway about sort of rumors, or like if you were taking notes, say you was like scribbling it down, then you're scribbling a note down and but you do shorthand, or you're writing keywords only, and then afterwards, like you could deliver a message that's literally just verbatim, like these were the 5 keywords I wrote down in that conversation, and you don't have anything else, no other context or anything to go with it. It was just like sausages, canoes. 3 pieces of hardwood, 2 boards, and some screws.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think it was screws. It could have been nails. Anyway, that's the message. Know what I mean? And then like literally people are like, no, you just read a shopping list and with no quantities. I have no idea what you mean. Yeah.
I'll definitely keep it in mind, because it's a good way of doing it, but I'm not sure if is this Richard or is this me adapting to the in-game mechanics because I have to, or you know, I have to. I have to keep that in mind. But that is definitely it's definitely a good. But
I can see it flowing from Richard, because the key thing is that Richard used to use a dictaphone, so he didn't. I mean, he used to use it badly, right? But that's besides the point. He used to use a dictaphone, and he no longer has those devices. They're either faulty or they've been sabotaged or whatever it is. So now he's got to scribble notes down, which is a very different process, right? In and out of character. And therefore I think there's a linkage there where he's writing shorthand notes because he thinks he still has the muscle memory of like, well, I can just listen back to the message later if I wasn't sure but he can't do that now. So he's almost in a bit of a panic. And he's like, scribble.
I learned to write from a doctor. You could have a
soundbite of someone scribbling loudly on a piece of paper on your Go XLR and play that while you're taking the notes. So they put literally the feedback while someone's telling you a note. They're like, oh, let me just note this down. And they get the, you know what a scribbling sounds like. I can't do that as a Foley.
And Richard's going,
yeah, exactly. Like that. And you're like, yeah, okay, I think I got all that. Thanks for your time.
I'll deliver this instantly.
Yeah, exactly. In some or none of its constituent parts.
Yeah. While walking away. What was it they said? Why have I written down redwood? Yeah.
Or like based on whatever, like improvise whatever was in the message. Like if it was about a wood delivery or something. Now, did he say he wanted softwood or hardwood? Or was that the other guy with the medical problem? Like that, and then just and then just wander off.
Or would that be that they would deliver?
Yeah.
Oh, playing around with homophones when there's RP involved. Oh, that's always good. That's always good. But no, some of my favorite moments though, whenever being in a scene, is when I walk away with a, if you know what I mean, and then just 2 to 3 seconds pass and you have 2 other characters standing there going, you know, I don't always understand what he means. Do you? And then you kind of hear a little scene play out as I'm walking away. That is one of my favorite ones, because then it's like, you've created the scene, you've created a tiny bit of a thing that people can play with, and then transition from that into something else that they were doing or whatever. And that is a fun RP character for me. And the way the voice in ECO works really works for that.
Yep. Voice has been outstanding this season.
Like I've only had to do a couple of unstucks to clear my voice, but like I've fallen through the world more than I've had issues with voice. Yeah,
exactly, same.
And
I've done one unstuck for voice so far, although sometimes other people have done it around me, so it's worked. But even when I've traveled on that, it's been really good, and the quality's been excellent as well. There's not been any bad moments with voice, and apart from the random moment where they started doing maintenance on it in the middle of the day.
What the heck was
nobody's real fault. They were just like, oh, it's now our maintenance window.
Okay, cool. The entire world goes mute.
Yeah. But thankfully they had like an hour or something maintenance window, but they were done in like 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Anyway, leaning into the characters. It's a hard thing to do, especially to do well. But in a game such as ECO, where there are so many game mechanics about that have either specific terms or something specific that you need to do, it's so hard to talk your way through it, especially when you want to be the character. So I can fully understand that some people kind of have this moment of I have something in my store for you, like it's not necessarily always easy to go and pick it up, split it out, and then leave it on the ground, or kind of RP that you're, I'm just making room in my cart here, please hold. It's not always that easy to do. And especially when you have moments where like it was a scene with Hubert the other day, where he was like, I haven't figured out how to make my hands split a stack, and I was like, oh, how do I do this in character? And it was like, well, you see, if you just shift your weight a bit, you kind of shift your weight as you're trying to grab things, and then suddenly he goes, oh, okay. But there are so many way more intricate things, like the claim papers. How do you talk about claim papers while being in character? How do you talk about purchase orders or repair orders or such while being in character? How do you explain this? It's difficult.
Yeah, the benefit you have with ECO is that ECO's in like a contemporary setting.
Yeah.
So some of the things you can just literally say how they are in the game, because as long as it sounds like that's what someone would say in real life, it works. I had to like grin the other day when you were trying to find a way to express in character the upgrades for the table without saying, I've got an upgrade for your table. And both before and afterwards, other characters came up and went, hey, there's a whole lot of upgrades for the tables. Do you need any?
Yeah.
And I was like, you tried so hard to explain that. And I was having a sort of tired moment. I was like, I don't know what he's talking about. And I was like, then I twigged like halfway through. I was like, oh, you mean the upgrades for the table? Okay. I'll go with you. I'll take what you're putting down and I'll run with it. Yeah. But I had other people that just walk up to me and go, hey, I got a bunch of upgrades. Do you want some? I'm like, okay.
Yeah, no, because I wanted to lean into that and be like, oh, I could have said, I found a way of upgrading my table. I could have used that word as a key, but I didn't want to be that much on the nose.
Yeah. No, it's
And
funny because
yeah,
almost always we're role playing in other settings where it's like a different time
yeah,
or a fantasy setting or whatever, and it doesn't make any sense that you would know these like modern words and vernacular and stuff. But in Eco, it's one of those where you don't have to worry as much about it. But I still always appreciate and applaud people for finding a way to do it without just being too, as you said, too on the nose, because that the impact of that is that for people that have a much higher propensity for, playing the game and they struggle a bit to stay more immersed, as soon as somebody throws in one of those keywords, you've lost them.
yeah,
So it can have, especially in a group, if there's 3 or 4 people around, it can have quite a negative impact in terms of immersive storytelling, because people, you can say if there's 5 people in a circle in Eco, almost certainly at least one of them will get that input to their mind that says, oh, we can talk about in-game things. And not they won't think of it like that way. But like, oh, so-and-so just mentioned a purchase order, so I can talk about how I need these 15 logs and 5,200 calories to make that table, because, well, that's fair play. They just said purchase order. And they don't see the granularity and the nuance there.
yeah.
So it's tricky, and so I think it's always better to be in the habit of trying to challenge yourself and find a way to express something, like the way you were doing, like sharpening tools, or like for Ivan, I tried to say that he was like using finer netting and stuff over at the seed gathering part of the table.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, that's so I kind of like, what do I do here? And then I just looked at the table and I thought, well, what do the characters see? Okay, they see this. And at the end of the farmer's table, there's a bit where there's some netting and wiring and stuff where you crush and squeeze and get seeds out of plants and things like that. And I was like, okay, so it's got to be something to do with that wiring. But it was also at night with no torch. So I was like, what does that exactly look like? I don't know. Looks like a kind of a meat grinder. So
Yeah. No, I had a fun scene with Sue the other day, where it was clear that Wrath of Joan, who was her player, was tired. It had been a long day. And slip of a tongue where it's like, yeah, in this game, it's sometimes like, is this all a game to you, Sue? Is that all we are? I instantly grabbed that, and she was like, no, of course not, Rick. And like instantly she was back. But I love those moments where you're able to catch someone and then just gently coax them in with that, because then they realize, oh shoot, yeah, no, we're kind of in an immersive setting. We're trying to avoid this, of course, and just grabbing those keywords and helping people is also a fabulous scene. And I felt I was able to be I felt I was able to be Rick there, just be a bit bombastic and jump in and be like, is this not important enough to you, Sue? Be there, and that's always good. But when you have people that don't really catch on to what you're trying to do with staying as a character, but instead, like you said, they lean far too much into the game terms. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I need to find a reason to be somewhere else. Because I'll also get torn away. Like, I'll also get carried away into it, And I'm trying not to. Trying very hard not to. I see myself as a seasoned role player, but I'm also a very seasoned gamer. So, So there's that. Anyway, lean into your characters, people. Let us hear your favorite stories about stuff like this, where you've noticed the scene that was done really well, where people were able to stay in character and work through things. So let's hear your favorite moments, maybe. Speaking of moments, I had a moment the other day where I was talking on my stream regarding content creation.
Mm-hmm.
And it was ad revenue and a few other things. And I talked about, okay, for those of you who've seen ads, please let me know what kind of ads you've seen, because I'm curious what runs my channel. And for those who haven't seen ads, if you're using an ad blocker, don't tell me. You know? And then someone was like, I don't see ads, but I have Turbo. And we talked a bit about Turbo. Because, like, genuinely, if you follow a lot of people on Twitch, but you don't have enough money to sub to all the different channels, Turbo is a good alternative. But there is no incentive for us as partners or streamers to promote Turbo outside of the fact that we still get ad revenue. But there's no sales tracking or anything. But I can guarantee you that if they had revenue split on sales on Turbo, a lot more partners and a lot more streamers would actively be saying, hey, buy Turbo, follow this link. What do you think? Like, how would you approach that if you were told that you would get sales revenue from people purchasing Turbo at your kind of track link or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, I think that fundamentally any system that allows some kind of kickback is something that is more, the incentive is directly there. I think that it's like many things Twitch. The information's there. You could go and find it and look it up and read it and probably understand most, if not all of it. Or you could reach out and ask questions and that. And in a way, there's a bit of a, well, if people don't go bothering and looking this kind of stuff up. But I always think that it's in a way, I always find it weird with Twitch developments and features and that, because I see them as like fundamentally they're like a publishing and communication service, and yet they just do a really bad job. Like, these things should be like in your face, obvious, and and to be fair to them, they probably do have all the articles and FAQs, and and if you do go and hunt this stuff down, you could probably find it. It just feels I don't know. I suppose it's a bit like, I don't necessarily think everyone needs to be spoon-fed, but I also think that these things, there's somehow a whole lot of information out there, and then they go, and as our last act, smoke cloud.
Yeah.
So you're like, what? Hang on, I'm trying to read what it says on the board, but you've smoked the room up. I got this all smoke and mirrors kind of thing, and not in a trickery way, but just in a like, it's confusing. And I think it's a little bit because the company is kind of use the term loosely, not in a medical sense, having dealt with it myself and with my family, but like a little bit schizophrenic, because you've got the hard-nosed financial business legal arm, because you need that and whatever, and then you've got the fun, creative, wacky, part, and this weird hybrid thing that we call Twitch, that mostly the wacky creative part, because that's what you tune into every day, and it's tens of thousands of partners and millions of others, and affiliates and whatever else, right? So you've got all that randomness going on with all the snazzy graphics and whatnot, and then you've got this hardcore like business element to it in the background, and it's this weird obfuscation and this foggy kind of thing in between the two, where as a partner and whatever, you're kind of, I feel like they kind of assume, well, everyone knows this, and we publish all the articles because we fulfilled our legal and corporate obligations, tick in a box. And then there's the reality of almost all the creators who won't know how that works and won't remember it, and therefore won't publish it, won't promote it or anything like that. And I think that if you, as simple as it sounds, I like the idea. I don't know about the viability of it, of course, but
No.
if you said, hey, if you promote this and this, you know, if you mentioned every day and every single stream mentioned every day, hey, you know, there's a special on Turbo this month or whatever, you know, you might get, you know, $10 or whatever, you know, whatever kind of kickback, because it would have to be something that makes sense for them en masse as well, without them having to drive their prices up. But even if they even if they said like, you know, Turbo's going to be like $10 now instead of $8 or whatever, I don't even know what it is right now. But the reason is because $1.50 of that's going to go back to your streamers where you know, use an affiliate code for or whatever. Then I think you'd see us talking about it, us learning about it, and even understanding what it does and how it works, and then people signing up to that part of the service maybe more often. The weird thing with the Turbo is how that balances between, because they do give you a breakdown in the analytics of how much was like Turbo revenue or whatever that month from your viewers.
Yeah.
But it's so abstract and like little percentages of numbers of people who have that. And then you've got the whole thing of like, well, do I want subscribers or do I want Turbo users, or am I trying to get Turbo users to also subscribe to my channel? And you know, it's and then you've got like the other things like the Plus program and the 2 tiers of that. It's, I don't know, I feel like they in a way they've overcomplicated it. Like on paper as a bullet list, it doesn't sound like that many things, but if you try to sit there and talk 100 people in a room through that in multiple different languages, time zones, whatever else, and levels of understanding, including your own, we're not trained. And again, you can go into the whole, well, you're running your own small business if you're a partner on there and that's your full time. True. But how did you get there? Like, was your path through that kind of thing? Do you have that business acumen and everything? And then, but they're also earning from it, and they're a professional corporate entity. So where's the assistance? How do we explain this to people, you know, and make it not boring and or sounding like we're begging, like, oh, give us some more money or whatever. And I think that because the whole, like, we've published the articles, that you're ignoring the psychological element for the streamer in saying, hey, I know this is maybe not everyone's favorite and it's a bit awkward and everything, but can we just have 5 minutes and talk about Twitch Turbo and revenue and what this means and how this helps me and the service stay alive that we all love and enjoy and that kind of thing. And asking everybody to stop all the creative and artistic stuff that they're doing, having done their homework and understood these other elements, and then give the mini TED talk of like, this is why it's a good thing to take Turbo, yay! You know, I think it's a big stretch.
It is, which is why I'm kind of like, would that work? Would this be a good way of doing things? Because we're already sitting here essentially selling ourselves to get people to subscribe, to use bits, to give tips, whatever, you know, and then to shift that to promote a service that essentially is like, it removes the need for subscriptions. It's like, I like the idea of people not seeing ads. Very much like the idea of not seeing ads. But the idea of people moving away from subscribing directly to my channel, because like that's $2.50 that I get no matter if they're here watching the ads or not, you know. But for a Turbo user, they have to be on my channel constantly for that to generate revenue for me. So there's no incentive for me to push that at the moment. There is no, like, it's a very niche market for those who would enjoy Turbo. You know, like it's those people that follow a lot of channels but don't have the money to sub to all of them. And I feel like that is a very, I don't know. I don't know the numbers, but looking at how many people or how much ad revenue I get from people who have Turbo, it's not a lot of people using it, like you said. So it's a weird subsection of Twitch, and yeah, I don't know. I just feel like if I was given another incentive to sell Turbo to promote it, I might do it. Oh god, that was a hiccup. Sorry about that. But I don't know. I guess we'll just have to keep an eye on things to see where everything is going. It's a strange platform, man. It's a very strange platform. Tell you that much.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of it as well is that it's still relatively new, even if it's been around 10, 15 years. It's still, I don't think it really hit mainstream. Like, I didn't even really know, having been an IT professional for like 20 odd years, I didn't really know what Twitch was. I didn't stumble across it. I didn't know the Justin TV and all those kind of things. Like, I was familiar with YouTube as kind of a learning, finding out stuff, watching how to do a thing kind of platform. Obviously with loads of entertainment stuff on there as well. But like, even now, I don't know about a lot of those things on YouTube. You could throw 10 names at me. I might know 3 of them, but I wouldn't know anything about them, what they do, any of the content. You'd be like, this is 10 million views every day. Like, I don't know. It doesn't land on my desk. So I think like even now in my experiences in real life, if I try and talk to people outside, like a doctor or a tax person or somebody at a bank or whatever, people are like, what? Never heard of it. Don't know what you're talking about. So I don't think it's in that. I think if you're in that space, you're like, well, everyone must know about this. If you're not in that space, a lot of people have simply never heard of it. Or if they have, they're like, is that like YouTube or something? Or, is that on the internet? So there's still a lot of that. And it's not an age thing. It's just, generally. So I think that's where some of that stigma or that comes from as well. It's like you're trying to promote something and a little bit like you're sort of preaching to the choir, as they'd say, You're talking already to the community that's already made it to Twitch for the most part, and they know, and they have their skepticism, and they have the things they like about it and the things they don't like about it. So it's a little bit difficult to market. I don't know.
Indeed. But let us know down in the comments how you feel about Turbo. Is this a service you use? Is it a service that sounds useful to you? How do you feel about how it splits revenue? Let us know your thoughts. Hell, let us know your questions. Maybe we know. Probably not, but we can give it a go. Speaking of questions and comments, welcome to community contributions. Oh, that's a tiny jingle there. Yeah. Maybe that's how we do that from now on. Who knows? Anyway, Mari first has a question about the ECO and Hytale. Like we mentioned, we've kind of already talked a bit about this, but she simply asks, what do you think of Hytale? Will it become the new dinner party thing? And how is your ECO season going so far? That was her questions regarding it. And I feel like we've kind of talked about it already. So Mari, thank you so much for your question regarding ECO and Hytale. Mari has also shared a couple of victories with us. Where she says, been on vacation where there was sunshine and a cat. She went to Florida to visit her friend, Foaming Jetty. Foaming Jetty has a cat called Evelyn, which is a tiny cat, very cuddly, and yes. And she also says puns. She has started the year with puns. Are you shocked? I'm shocked.
Yeah, shockage.
Shock and awe. So much shock. Thank you, Mari, for sharing. Just Mick has a comment for us on Patreon on the last episode, where we talked a bit more about viewer numbers and such. And he says, great episode. I think you guys are handling the viewership numbers topic quite well. been getting pretty excited about the DRP ECO season. I've done a little help, and some of the stuff in the world will be out of this world, or out of this world and into that world, or hope to have some overlapping playtime with you guys. On Vintage Story, I sat on this game for a long time. It always seemed like a game that was sort of pretty close to what I want, but there are monsters. But watching Grumbles and Stats play it pushed me to open it up. I don't think it was their intention, but between their playlists, they have made a very just mix speed tutorial. Not speed tutorial, but just mix speed tutorial. Very important difference there, I think. Watching Grumbles build and Stats explain the mechanics has been far more helpful than 5 minutes, here's all you need to know video. Keep up the good work, guys, and I'll see you in DRP. Thank you so much for the very nice comment and talking us through that. It's Mick plays. Who is it he plays in Eco?
The retired guy, right?
Is it Liam?
I think it's Liam. Forgive me if I'm wrong.
There's so many names. There are so many names and voices out there.
I've spoken to them a few times,
Yeah.
but I don't think they've ever formally been introduced or introduced themselves.
No.
So I think I refer to him as Blue Shirt Guy.
Yeah, Liam
Because
Cassidy.
that's what Ivan
Liam
does.
Cassidy. That's the one. Yeah.
When he doesn't know who it is, he's like, "Oh, it's Blue Shirt Guy."
Yes. You're looking for Ivan Vanavar. Rick hasn't learned your name, just so that's said. He's
Very
trying.
good.
He's just Mr. Mayor or Mr. President, or he's throwing a lot of titles around.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I have a feeling there will be even more play because we're coming into that part of the season where there will be more intermingling. There will be more travel between communities. Rumor has it mechanics is out or coming soon. Starting to collect for it, so we'll have paddle boat soon. Yay!
Nice.
And that will probably and hopefully free up more time for people to come by for the Barovian market, which is, oh my god, it looks so good right now. I'm looking forward to seeing the cafe and everything and just having it in its full glory. It's like finally I'm able to be part of a Barovia that has one of these markets that is kind of a gathering like you guys usually do in Atlas. I absolutely love that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where this is going, and I've been trying to spread the word about it to get more people in, and it seems yes, people are like, oh, this is market, cool. When? It's every Saturday at 4 Central Barovian time. That's what I've started calling Central European time. It's Central Barovian time.
No, it makes sense. Central Barovian time makes total sense. Well, where's Barovia located? Oh, it's in the old world in Europe. That's a great way of doing it. I'm going to adopt that.
By all means. Wacky had a Wacky Wish, aka Caleb Hewlett, has a comment for us on YouTube where he says, Vintage Story is cool. I only run one mod myself. It's a Zoom mod to look at stuff further away. Being on a modded server does not mean I have to use all the mods on the server. And that is actually kind of a cool system with Vintage Story. You're not shoehorned into all of the things. And even you could even run some mods yourself that isn't part of the server at all. And I think that's a really cool system. Yep. So I'm looking forward to playing around with it and just seeing what's out and about in the world. Just avoiding the monsters, mind you. I'm not there for the monsters. I'm there for a cool build system. That's my thing.
Yeah, I'm not super into some of the monsters. We even modded some of them out or switched them off or whatever because they changed some of the basic cave monsters to be those kind of weird mechanical spidery looking things, and
not a fan.
I'm not really too bothered by spiders and stuff generally speaking, but there's something weird about these because they look, it's an uncanny valley. So it's a combination of here comes a giant arachnid that's twice the size of my character, and it's uncanny valley. So there's something about it where I was like, could we not have those ones? And that's like, sure, we can not have those ones. So we've turned those ones off on the Barovia Rising play because it's just, I don't know, there's something creepy about them.
There's something about the what is essentially body horror part of it, because they are transfigured humans or such, and that's what throws me really off with that. It's just so, you know, and I can see it so clearly in my head that I don't like that. So yeah, not a fan of that part of the Cthulhu mythos. Big scary monster, very cool. Tiny disfigured human monster, very creepy.
Yeah.
Not a fan. But you know what I am a fan of?
What's that?
Our patrons.
Nice.
Thank you so much to Marangana, Finn McCorvus, Tilted Head, Lima Zulu Tango, Introvert, Just Mick here, and Lady Alien for being patrons and being part of this podcast in a very active way. Throwing money at our faces so that we can do server hosting and such. That is incredibly kind of you. For $2 a month or equivalent, you can pledge to our patron, and as long as life doesn't get away from me, I will reach out a week before to all of you and say, hey, don't forget there's a recording in a week. Please send in your comments or questions and so on. And so we want to say thank you so much for making this podcast a living document, so to speak. Living document. And we truly do appreciate you. And you can find us over at patreon.com/exit2port. That's patreon.com/exit2port. We only have that one tier. We haven't bothered with many other things or merch or anything like that. I don't know what our merch would look like. I'm not gonna speculate. But yeah, that's that. And I'm just gonna keep rolling here with something else I appreciate, which is something to smile about. And oh my god, it's cutting. I need to figure out what's going on with this goddamn text. Anyway, my something to smile about is something I've chosen to call "Quit Horsing Around," where I thought you would appreciate this because of having played Red Dead Redemption 2. I don't know why, but for some strange reason, Red Dead Redemption 2 keeps popping up in my TikTok feed without me even, like, I haven't played it. I haven't done anything. I'm not searching for that content, but it keeps popping up. And recently, there was a beautiful segment because, oh my god, animals in games are always a bit of a gamble. And especially the horses in Red Dead Redemption 2 can be a bit wild. And there was a guy who was walking up to a place where he was gonna get off his horse and walk around. And as soon as he released his horse, the horse just ran off, stood on a well, started falling into the well, and just like it was just absolutely going nuts. And then as the player was approaching, oh, there it goes, it just fell through the world and into the well. And I'm like, how does this happen? How is there a horse in the well suddenly? And the player was just standing there kind of like, what the heck? Because nothing had spooked the horse. Nothing, like he didn't touch it. He didn't do anything. He literally let go of the reins, and suddenly horse went, I'm gonna go, wee, and then down the well.
Yeah.
Like, why? Why?
Yeah.
and I sat there and I was just smiling. It's like, what in the world is this? I don't.
That's Red Dead for you.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I mean, they give you the reins and you can like tie it to a tree or, whatever.
Yeah.
Not everything, but like quite a lot of objects. And yeah, and then they just have like a kind of wander around, get spooked, or in this case, not. Yeah, that's pretty much sounds like it would fit right into my experiences with Red Dead.
It's about maybe a 10-second clip, if even.
Yeah.
Where all of that chaos just kind of ensues the instant he lets go of the reins. And it just escalates and escalates, or de-escalates, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Descends? I don't know. Whatever. And you have your something to smile about called Generations. What's that all about?
Yeah. And it's just nice because things like comedy or creating good self spaces and mental health and all those kinds of things are something that are kind of universal. But it was it's Christmas time. Silver contacted me and was like, "Oh, your merch. Do you happen to have other colors available?" And I was like, "Sure. Let me know what are you looking for?" And it's like pink. I was like, "Okay, sure." That wasn't one I was expecting to be wanted, but I'll add something in. So I added it in and everything with a hoodie or whatever. And then he bought his daughter a Good Vibes hoodie for Christmas.
Oh, nice.
She was super excited, and it was just nice to see the good vibes being shared by the different generations and that. They sent me a picture and like big beaming smile, like loving the hoodie and everything. And I just thought that's a really nice thing to know that you can create some peace and happiness or laughter or whatever to anybody, any age, any circumstance or whatever is a nice thing. So that's something that made me smile.
Yeah, I've had a similar moment of getting a picture from Hytale and Daniel where one of their kids is wearing a big old TigersDen hoodie with the logo and everything, and being just super happy about it. So yeah, it's one of those things where like it's kind of the ultimate feedback, because you know that something you've been doing and cherishing and working with for years has now suddenly jumped to a different generation because of someone enjoying what you do and put out into the world. And that's pretty big. That's pretty big. That is genuinely something fabulous to smile about. And with that, I think we're gonna say thank you for hanging out here for this first episode of the 6th season of Exit to Port. We always talk about how we want to do more with it or change things in a good way that makes sense for us as the creators of it, but also for you as a consumer of it. But mostly what we're thinking about is doing things where it'll lower cost, but also make things more available for you guys. So we still haven't had a chance to actually sit down and talk fully about it, but if you guys have any ideas or thoughts about the future of the podcast, do not be afraid of reaching out to us either on Discord or on Patreon, because you can be a member for free on Patreon too, and write messages to us. Like it's not just for paid members. I want to point that out. Maybe we'll start putting out some little tidbits here and there, some clips from our channels, or have conversations with more of you guys over there. So it's not just for paid members. I want to point that out. Anyway, that's going to be a goodbye from me and a goodbye from Grumbles.
Goodbye.
And we'll see you in the next episode of Exit to Port. Goodbye.